and your life.
All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of Blerd State of Mind. It is, what's today? Wednesday, January the 8th. Jesus Christ. 8 days into 2020, folks. I'm going to say, but we in here. As always, I'm your boy, Seth.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, so anyway, I'm Seth. You got my boy Bruce with you today. Today, I know that we were talking about discussing starting a business. Some of the things I was thinking about as far as the things I wanted to ask you, because I know this has been your thing, your ambition, your drive that's kind of been pushing you along for the last couple of years. And I know that you've been going literally coast to coast, state to state, workshops, mentorships, business ideas, little ventures here and there. I know you're looking to make your fortune. So I guess I wanted to start there and ask you, what was the inspiration for you wanting to start your business? And as opposed to, taking the normal path of working like a 9 to 5. So, what made you want to get started? What was the inspiration? And also, just kind of give me some, as far as your path, everything that you've done so far to get started.
That's a heavy question. Honestly, that's a 2-hour keynote right there. The short version is it starts up here. It really does. First of all, believing that it's possible, and then looking inside, like believing it's possible for me, and then committing to make that possibility a reality. So it started out, I was actually selling cars, and one of my best friends suggested, he's like, Bruce, you're friendly, you're knowledgeable, go sell cars. I made some good money. And I love the company because it was very ethical. Like, they didn't cheat people, they gave fair prices and great cars. So I learned a lot about sales from that job. And that's one of the things I teach, is that everybody works in sales no matter what it is, whether it's a job interview or asking for a raise or selling a product service. Anyway, I won a magazine subscription somewhere like in this time period. No idea how or why. And
Okay.
options were, right? Super random. But this is where the story begins. Like, it was Elle, Cosmopolitan, Vogue, Vanity Fair, and not really my cup of tea. That's the nicest way I'm going to put that. But there was Forbes magazine. I was like, I like money. I didn't know what Forbes was about. Right? I was like, I like money. We'll get Forbes.
Okay.
A couple months later, Forbes magazine came in. It's like, hey, Bruce, you got some mail. They gave me a Forbes magazine. So on some downtime, I'm reading it. And I was fascinated because most of the people, and I mean like 9 out of 10, 19 out of 20, that made $1 million or 100 million or billion even, were just regular people. They weren't smart. They didn't go to, a lot of them didn't go to college. A lot of them, parents weren't rich. Like, that's the big one. People are like, well, I'd be rich too if my parents gave me money. Bro, this dude comes over as an immigrant. Like, everything he owned was in a shoebox.
Okay.
And he's pushing 9 digits. Anyway, that was the light bulb for me. I'm like, so wait a minute.
Wait, who's this guy?
It's Patrick Bet David. He has a YouTube channel called Valuetainment. Brilliant guy. I think he's from the Middle East.
Okay.
So I said, okay, if it's not being the smartest, being lucky, what is it? So that's where my journey started, just to figure out, like, hey, if it's possible, let's give it a try.
Okay. All right. So that's what got you started as far as pursuing that. So after you, got your magazines and everything, you checked out Forbes and kind of got your inspiration. What was your next step after that?
So what I realized, a pattern for every single business, every single person, they do one of two things or both. Is they solve a problem or they add value. And that applies to everyone. So for Facebook, they add value. They help you keep in touch with the people that are important to you, right? Friends, loved ones. And whatever your interest may be. But the problem they solve is actually below that, and it helps companies connect with people based on their demographics. It helps companies spend advertising dollars reaching the people that's important to them. So they add value on one hand and they solve a problem on the other. And that's why it's a multi-billion-dollar company, because they solve enough problems for enough people in a big enough way. So to answer your question, I said, okay, where can I add value? And what problem can I solve?
Okay. So as far as businesses go, I know that there's like millions of business, whether, I mean, if you want to make ice cream, you want to have a tire shop, whatever. So I guess what is it that you're passionate and interested in, that you want to, I guess, like kind of carve out your niche in the world? Like, what is it that Bruce personally can bring to the table that I guess, like, you know, you can put into a business to make your fortune that you actually, you know, like I said, are passionate about?
Okay, so I'm glad you said that word right there, passion. I feel like it gets thrown around a lot, and a lot of people get misled where they're like, I don't know what I'm passionate about, or I want to make money doing something I'm passionate about. I think that making money and passion really can be separate and maybe should be separate. So there's a book called The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, and he talks about a wonderful baker. She bakes all sorts of pies, and they're delicious. Everyone loves them. But she's about to file for bankruptcy. And what people fail to realize is just because you're passionate about something doesn't mean it should be your business, okay? Just because you're passionate about baking pies, whatever it is, doesn't automatically mean people are going to give you money for that and that their business plan is going to work. So I want to pull those two apart. For me, I believe that people can change their whole lives and can change their whole world if they change how they think. And
Okay.
my goal is to help people with their personal and professional development with the emphasis on sales training so that they can achieve whatever goal or desire they have for their life. And I don't want to create a life where I'm busy all the time, I'm gone all the time. I want to create a life where I have the freedom, both financial and time freedom, to be there for what's important. For perfect example, for your birthday, I want to make sure I was there. For Amara's birthday, want to make sure that I'm there for that. That's what's important to me. So money is really just a tool to get there. And I'm passionate about being there for the people that are important to me, but that doesn't mean the business and the passion are the same thing. If that makes any sense at all.
It doesn't make sense, at least to me, because like you said, you don't have to have that emotional connection, like you said, to be good at something or to pursue something. So I get that. So then in your case, then, if you want to use that same logic, then what is it that you want to do, whether you're passionate about it or not? And how do you see yourself, I guess, getting there? Yeah, like, I mean, where do you get started with that?
Getting started is probably the hardest part. And I'm actually working on a digital course to help people get started and to figure out, hey, where do I begin? So you can actually follow me on Instagram at speakwell.llc. So there's two things. To figure out how to get started, you want to figure out where you're going. Which sounds obvious, but I think a lot of people take the step, where am I now? And that's almost irrelevant because you don't have to stay there. I think Jim Rohn says you're not a tree, like you can move.
Right.
So number one is to figure out where you want to go. And then number two, and this is where the passion comes in, is why you want to go there. That's the part you have to operate with passion. So when I tell people, hey, your business doesn't have to be your passion, I still want it to be moral, legal, and ethical. All right? Still got to be moral, legal, and ethical. I don't want you going to sleep having nightmares because you're a terrible person. But I want you to be passionate about, like, if I'm working hard, if I'm spending money to create a digital course, if I'm taking time out of my day to record a podcast, it's because I'm passionate about creating a lifestyle where I have time to do the things I want to do when I want to do them. So where you start with where you want to end up, picture that in your head, and then have a very strong why that keeps you going when things are tough, when it's taking longer than expected, when you have difficulties, when you don't feel like it. That's when that passion comes in to keep you going.
Okay. And I'm glad that you did touch on the difficulties part, and also, like you said, that forward thinking. let's also transition there. So in your mind's eye, um, what do you see in your future then?
That is becoming more and more clear every day because the short version is I dream of a life where I can operate out of any city in the world for any period of time without interruption to my income or my level of living, my lifestyle. So to be able to go to any city in the world, to stay there for as long as I want, and not have to impact my lifestyle. So perfect example, I had an event for New Year's that I was hosting, and I was traveling. I stayed in Atlanta for a week. I was working. I was doing everything I needed to do. I stayed in Atlanta. Next week, I'm gonna do the same thing for about 5 6 days in Houston, Texas. So, but my income doesn't change. Like I can work remotely as long as I have an internet connection. I'm good to go, and that's getting closer to where I want for my whole life to look like. So you tell me, hey, it's Amar's birthday. I'm like, boom, I'm there, without having to ask anybody, without having to take the time off. Like, no, I just want to show up.
Okay, I can dig that. Definitely. I know baby girl definitely dig that too. Um, okay. And so to touch on the other part of that too, you talked about difficulties. So what difficulties have you encountered on your road so far? And how did you traverse and navigate those?
Ooh, that's part I'm still figuring out. So actually, I'll say this disclaimer: I'll never tell people how to do anything I haven't done. I'll try and point you to some resources that I have. But if I haven't made $1 million, I'm not going to tell you how to make $1 million. I'm working on it. So the biggest difficulty has just been mindset. Going back to, can I do this? And the answer is yes. The question that sometimes there's not an answer to is how. So what you said, how do you navigate that, is twofold. I'm always learning. If you look at my page, I just finished a book called The 1 Minute Manager, and I read a book called The 10X Rule. So I'm always trying to expand my mind, and it reminds me that it's possible, but it also shows me how. But reading books and attending seminars and thinking about it doesn't get anything done. Like when it comes down to business, it doesn't matter what you talk about, think about, who you hang around, what book you read. At the end of the day, it matters results. Like what is the end result from your actions? So I try and take my learning and put it into practice on a daily basis.
Okay.
The learning process.
All right. And I know that, and part of that, something that I know that you and I have talked about personally, is it's the consistency aspect of it as well.
It's huge. Yeah.
So I know that besides consistency, a lot of people believe that something that is their issue is it's an issue of motivation.
Okay.
How do you get up in the morning? How do you keep going? Like you said, the consistency issues that a lot of people have is like, okay, well, it got hard this day, so I decided to slack off and take a day off, which can then snowball into a week, a month, whatever. Some people just let it die completely. So for you personally, I guess, like, what is your motivation to keep moving forward, regardless of setbacks, or even if you just wake up one day, it's like, you know what, I don't really feel like working on it. Like, what keeps you moving? What keeps you going?
Yo, okay, first of all, and this is where I turn up a little bit. I don't believe in motivation. Like motivation is a trap. Motivation is like Bigfoot. Like it might be real, but no one's seen it in a long time. And a lot of people get into trouble because they're waiting for the motivation to show up. They're going to be waiting. That's why last year's New Year's resolution are this year's New Year's resolution. And I'm capping, but it's so important. Jim Rohn, one of my favorite motivational speakers, I think I already mentioned him once. He said motivation is like showers, right? It's recommended daily.
Okay.
So what happens is people say, you know what? It's January 1st. I'm going to make this New Year's resolution. Fill in the blank. But the mindset that they made the resolution in isn't the same as their mindset at 5 a.m. on January 8th. So what happens is there's a disconnect from their emotional state here, their emotional state, and when they conceived of the plan. So there's two ways to beat this. There's more than that, but there's two ways I'm gonna share that I use. First of all, dream big, like dream crazy big.
Okay.
Very, very small. So one of my goals is to be the first millionaire in my family. I want to be able to, for my mom, dad, brothers, sisters, you, whoever, they call me, man, Bruce, I'm in a tight spot. I need some help. And cash the check. Like that just needs to be easy. Let me check. I get paid on Friday. No, I got you. That needs to be my answer. So that's my big dream. So how do I start small? It starts with making a dollar. It starts with making a dollar. So remember I said earlier, add value, solve problems. So I said, you know what? There are small businesses that need a sales professional. I'm a sales professional. They need one. Boom. There's the dollars. I got paid Tuesday. They called me. They was like, hey, Bruce, did you get your check? I was like, what check? They was like, well, you sold that event last month. We paid you. Did you get it? I had to check my account to see if I got it. Like, you know how good that felt?
Yeah.
I need that to happen more often. But it's all from starting small. Like in my head, I don't need to make $1 million today. I just need to make one more dollar than I did yesterday. So start small. So when I wake up at 5 a.m. and I'm like, oh man, I don't feel like it. It's cool. I only got to do 10 push-ups. I'm going to do my 10 push-ups, 10 squats, 10 sit-ups, and that's it. I'm starting small. And you build on that over time. So the second thing is why. So when you don't feel like it, when it's raining outside, when it's cold, when you're sore, when you had to work a double shift at work, when the kids didn't sleep at night, you have to remember, like, why did I say I was going to fill in the blank? Oh yeah, because I know my parents are going to retire soon, and I want them to be good. Oh yeah, like my goddaughter is growing up, and I know she's going to need a positive example besides just her mom or dad. Because fill in the blank, like when that why kicks in, it doesn't matter how you feel at that point. It's like, yo, I got something to do, and I've got a big reason to do it. So that's where motivation will get you in trouble because you won't always be motivated. That's why Kobe Bryant's the best. It's not because he was motivated. It's because he was passionate about being the best.
Okay. All right. Hmm. Okay. So I know you said that your goal, or like you said, you want to be able to cut check pretty much whenever you want. Don't have to wait till payday or be able to cash out. So with this fortune that you plan on making, I mean, I guess I'm not the most material person in the world. So
Right.
I wonder at what point is too much? Is there such a thing as is too much too much?
Absolutely not. So check this out. Grant Cardone is one of my favorite businessmen. And so someone said, you know what? Money can't buy everything, Grant. And so Grant tells him, he's like, well, being broke can't buy anything. I love it because a lot of people have this aversion to building wealth. And I firmly believe that you can build wealth morally in an ethical and a legal way. But it's honestly not what you do. Okay, in this case, become a multimillionaire. It's why. And again, my goal is to be there physically, financially, emotionally, spiritually for the people I care about. And it takes money to do that. So that doesn't even make sense, right? You know what, Bruce? These medical bills hit me. Hey, you know what, man? Money isn't everything. That sounds silly. So I firmly believe that there's no such thing as too much because the more you have, the more you can give. So for folks that tithe, right? Tithe 10% of all you have. It's not your income, by the way, it's all you have. I'm going with this. Like, I still give 10%, but how many people can I feed with $1 million versus $10? Like, how many lives can I change? Can I improve? Can I help? What impact can I have on the people that care about me if I have more to give?
Right.
I only think you have too much is if you keep it. If you keep it for yourself. No one's going to complain about you giving them too much. Bruce, no, it's not going to happen.
Hey, man, unless you just drown my taters in too much gravy, I might complain a little bit.
Yeah, so no, I don't think you have too much, man. You only have more to give. And that's the way I look at
it. Okay. And then also with that, I know that the words that I've heard you use a lot, like even just talking now, is like, ethical, moral, legal. For someone like you, I get the vibe that you don't want to be the type of guy that cuts corners or steps on people's necks just to come up. But I guess me playing devil's advocate, I got to ask, why not? Like, you see so many people that are willing, like, to trample on the little man, or like cut corners, or to trample those in order to get ahead. Why do you not think that approach is for you, or like, why are you against such an approach like that?
So, I mean, what's the point of gaining the whole world if you lose your soul? There's a lot of layers to it. I first want to prove that it not only has been done, it can be done over and over again. Second of all, I don't chase happiness. This is parallel. I have peace. Because when you're at peace with no money, you're still at peace. If you're at peace with money, you're at peace. But if you're unhappy with no money, that's okay. You can work on it. But if you're unhappy and you have lots of money, you'll be miserable. And that's why, if you don't believe me, just go type in celebrity suicides and then type in, look at their net worth. So you can't tell me that it's money that is the source of happiness, because it's not. So when I talk about approaching it morally, ethically, and legally, you can keep your peace. You're not looking over your shoulder, worrying if it's going to come back to bite you. You can have this confidence and this peace about it, and also make sure it's still there to give to your kids and your kids' kids, and start building something that lasts. It's all about the foundation. That's the short version. It's building a strong foundation so that I have a legacy even after I'm gone. You got to do that the right way. Ain't no shortcuts.
Okay. No, so that's another important word that I like that you use, legacy, or something that'll last even after you're not here. Forget who it was. Somebody said something about building a dynasty that will last 1,000 years. I don't know if that was Hitler talking about the Third Reich or whatever it is. Point is the fact that even after so much time and stuff, I mean, some things can be forgotten throughout history and whatnot. I guess if you are to build a legacy, what do you want your legacy to say about you, even when you're not here?
It's very simply, my vision is to change the minds that change the lives that change the world. And we could teach people how the things that they say, think, and say influence their actions, and over time influence their lives, and over time influence the world. Man, I can change the world for generations. And that's a beautiful thing. That's why I named my business Speak Well. Because the things that I say are going to impact people's minds. And what you think comes out in your daily life. Your daily life over time changes everything. That's it. It's not monetary at all. It's just people believing that, hey, I can be a painter. Hey, I can be the world's greatest swimmer. Hey, I can be a chef. Like, whatever it is you dream up, I want people to have the confidence and know how do I get started? And then how do I keep going till I achieve it? It'll be a beautiful thing.
Okay. And I guess my final question would be, I know that there is no perfect road to anything. I know that you've already, even in the beginning process of trying to get things started and whatnot, you've had your fair share of setbacks. Mm-hmm. So to those people out there, how do you deal with failure?
Wow. So this is a fantastic question. I'm glad you asked that. Two things. First of all, not everyone should start a business. I'm gonna say that right now. And some people are gonna get mad or however they feel about it. If you're working full-time job and it's paying the bills, keep it. What I found is you can build an additional stream of income just a few extra hours a week, 8 to 10 hours a week. Do not quit your job until your side hustle covers all of your expenses plus 50%. That's the first thing. That's going to save you so much headache. Because what happens is people say like, oh, I'll have more time if I quit my job. But if you were spending 2 hours on your side hustle when you had a job, you're going to spend 2 hours when you quit your job. It's a mental thing. So that was probably one of the things I did that made my life more difficult than it had to be. Now, what I've learned though, when you run into those failures, you either win or you learn. And a failure, actually, I think you're reading this book, Think and Grow Rich, is really a temporary defeat. It's not a failure unless you just quit. It's a temporary defeat. But with every temporary defeat, there's that opportunity of equal or greater value around the corner. So once you realize that success is a journey and failure is part of the process, it won't hit you quite so hard. Because if you got it right on the first time, you probably didn't do anything very big. Who cares?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like you jumped up the sidewalk. Okay, great. But how many tries would it take for you to be an Olympic pole vaulter, right? You're going to fail a couple of times. But if you fail smarter and you're not making the same mistakes twice, and failure can be a very valuable lesson. In the book, The Lean Startup by Eric Ries, he talks about keeping failures as small as possible and the lesson from it as big as possible so that you're always failing forward. Another great book by John Maxwell called Failing Forward is taking those lessons and building on them. So I've dealt with it knowing that it's part of the process, and I've also done my best to learn from other people's failures so I can skip some of those steps.
Okay. So if you don't mind making that a little bit more personal, so give me like one of your biggest setbacks or failures that you experienced, and how did you move past it?
So at one point when I'm studying, learning, I found that CEOs read 60 books a year and attend 6 conferences. And I was like, okay, that's a lot. I really don't have time to do that. And I caught myself. I said, well, wait a minute. CEOs are probably bigger than I am, or are busier than I am, right? So I made a plan. I wrote it down. I made it happen. So for 2018, I read 60 books, and I went to 6 conferences. You're like, yay, 60 books. That's cool, right? That made me $0. That's
okay.
probably one of the first steps. I spent a year learning, which is invaluable and worthless until you put it into action. So 2019, I started taking the things I learned and put it into action. So I made a t-shirt. You might be able to see it on my Instagram page if you scroll down. But it was a Black Panther shirt for the release. And my goal was to sell them at the premieres for Black Panther. So that's one of my first business ventures, right? Got my business certificate, my business license, all that, kept it official, print up the t-shirts, and I lost probably about $300.
Oh wow!
Didn't make a single dime. Or I should say there was revenue, but there wasn't any profit.
Okay.
So that was tough, but it was so valuable. And what I realized was I didn't pay for the t-shirts, I paid for the lesson. So now, if I have a physical product again, let's say it's $300,000, I've learned what needs to happen to make that successful. So that was probably one of the most obvious failures I've had, carrying a box around of unsold t-shirts around for months. But it was fantastic, and I'd do it again for the lesson, just because I learned about marketing, about public relations, about managing payment systems, about shipping, and so much more. Customer service. That honestly was $1 million lesson right there, but it only cost me $300.
Hey, $300 is a lot of money to some people, man.
It was a lot of money to me. That rent, my rent was late. I'll be honest with you. However, I took the risk and I learned from it.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that covers about my questions for the day. Is there anything else you would like to share?
Man, listen, whatever it is that you want to do, figure out the smallest piece that you can get started and give it a try. That's it. So instead of trying to sell 500 t-shirts, or how many t-shirts did I have? It was about $500 worth of product. Maybe let's call it 100 t-shirts, whatever. Start with 5 t-shirts. Okay. If your goal is to run a 5-minute mile, hey, just go a mile. Just walk it out. See how long it takes you. Set that as a benchmark. If you want to design clothes, take out a pen and paper. Start sketching. Like, it doesn't have to be a billion-dollar company overnight. You're not going to win an Oscar on your first film. However, you can never get to the second film if you don't make the first one. So I just encourage everyone that's watching this, thank you. Please like and subscribe, share, and get started.
Get started. All right. Well, I think that'll wrap things up on my end, sir. Say thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Like I said, please like, subscribe, share it with your friends, your family, random strangers. We don't care. Give it to whoever. Give it to everybody. Spread that stuff around. Anyway, peace and love. Thank you for tuning in.
Peace.